on this show is the downright dirty, gritty, how low you got.
The most traumatic.
The most painful,
romance
the most traumatic.
in your
And
life.
losing a child, I just can't think of anything more traumatic. But
Me
you
either.
were kind of like the whole relationship with your son's life, different than what relationship with my son's life was because of your son's special, unique position in this world, I believe.
Condition.
You know, what I look at my life from 15 years old to now was a lot of trauma involved in it, but I was made for a reason, and that trauma I was made for it. And I look at Joshua's life as he was made for that.
He had a purpose, you know. He was one of 55 cases known in the world when he was born in '95, and we found out later through raising a bunch of money using the NFL as a platform and funding research. We now know there's probably 5,000 to 8,000 kids out there.
Wow.
With myotubular.
And they didn't know anything really when Joshua was born. They didn't have a clue.
3 months after we spent 24 days in the ICU in the medical city in Dallas. They sent us home, and they literally said, and they had been running test after test after test, and they sent us home saying, we don't know what it is. If he's alive next year, in a year, bring him back, and we will reevaluate him. That was it.
Now, you've got all the money in the world that you could need. Well, I mean, to a point,
Well,
you got more than the rest of us.
I played in '88, and I was a blue collar
Well,
player.
there you go.
So
You still got more. You had more money than most of the folks,
I had money,
and that didn't help in this situation. I mean, you had to raise millions and millions of dollars to get to where we are now with the disease, and have they got a cure in place?
So really quick, when I played and Joshua was born, the minimum wage for the NFL was $55,000, which I had made my first year. I started climbing the ladder a little bit. Now the minimum wage is like $500,000 a year. Wonderful for them. Money. It takes. We were just hearing from at about that time when Joshua was born. We're just hearing, it takes $1 billion to make a small molecule pharmaceutical drug. Wow. And we're like, $1 billion, you know. Well, we actually said, we don't care what the number is. We've got to try to help these kids. And selfishly, we wanted to save our son's life. Yeah. And we found out what it was. At 3 months old, we took a nerve and muscle biopsy. And about a month and a half later, we get a manila envelope in the mail with 3 medical journals and a little paragraph saying your son has myotubular myopathy. And 2 of those medical journals had been written in 1967. Wow. So no research had been done. Allison, being a New Yorker, and we're, chutzpah, we're going to use your platform to raise money. We raised about $6.5–7 million over the next 12 years.
How much?
About $6.5 to $7 million over the next 12 years. Gave a lot. The research was done at Harvard and then Wake Forest Institute of Regenerative Medicine, and eventually we just kept going and hoping, and Joshua kept loving on us and giving us inspiration day in and day out, and gosh, we made it into clinical trials. Unfortunately, we lost Joshua.
Am I under the right understanding that you never thought Joshua was going to die? You thought he was going to live the whole time?
When he was born, I had the mentality of, you know what? His mother was unbelievable. His mother and grandmother kept him alive while I was off playing football. Mm-hmm. And they were cool. Allison had ice in her veins. She's like a pilot, And I was like, just tell me how to keep him alive. And she's like, they don't know how to keep him alive. We've got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, I didn't fear Joshua's death. I really felt positively we were going to figure this out, and we were going to, hopefully.
And you have faith in God and your wife had faith in God, the family, you guys all had
Absolutely. That's a long story. I'm a preacher's kid.
Yeah.
And then I met, and I hadn't been to church the first 3 years I played in the NFL, and then I met Allison, and then I met Allison's mother, and within like 70 or 80 seconds, she found out I was a preacher's kid, and I hadn't been to church, and I went to church that Friday night. So
she watched the prodigal off of you, didn't you?
Right. So exactly, and I tell kids, unfortunately, I had two prodigal. I said, one is enough. Make
Right.
sure one is enough because of the calluses.
Yep.
Joshua, these kids, 50% of them do not make it to 18 months of age.
Wow.
And Joshua was 40 days shy of his 16th birthday.
And so the whole time he was alive, you were he could get a mucus plug. I worked with a quadriplegic kid that I had to do the same thing. We had a suction thing, and in an instant. And I was describing to you what it feels like to me when I can't talk. I can't say certain things.
Can't find the word.
I always felt that when I was working with this quadriplegic, or I thought of myself being in that position, what a frantic state that must be in. And you guys lived in it. It happened at any time, 14 years straight. So you had a daughter afterwards that had more of a
6 years later, or
6 years. Yeah. They were siblings for so 6 years. Joshua passed just before 16, so she was 9. She was 9 years old when he passed.
Wow.
Yeah, Isabella.
I can bring all that together with how old my kids are. Like when I got divorced, my daughter was 7. So that's the whole time, the whole loss. Even though that y'all were prepared for the work. 40-day podcast, 40 days straight. 40-day podcast, bring your friends and don't be late. Bring your friends and don't be late.
bring your friends and don't be late.
All right, Fred, thanks for coming in finally and saying, man, you're like the star of that vocal part there. It's just
That needs to learn her guitar part first.
Lord help me, Gene.